The early 2000s brought a variety of different football games from many different developers. Some were good, some were not so good. So I think it's time we kicked off another throwback review. Today's feature is on the UEFA Champions League video game, specifically from the 2001 to 2002 season. Developed by Silicon Dreams and published by Take-Two Interactive, it was released in February of 2002. You're looking at the PS2 version, but there was a version also released for PC. This edition of the Champions League game was made by the same people who developed World League Soccer, and it plays very similar to that game. However, national teams have been replaced by previous Champions League winners from 1956 to 2001, so you have the ability, if you want to play as a current team versus a classic team. You can even play mini tournaments between teams from several decades, or play an all-time Champions League with a mix of current in-game squads and the classics. Teams from the current era are separated into 4 seeded pots, the actual pots that they were in for the real-life Champions League draw, with the higher ranking teams in pot 1 and lower ranking teams in pot 4. This is done instead of organising them by country. There are also developer teams and 4 slots for custom teams if you want to create your own. Graphically, the game is okay in places. For example, at the start of each match, you get a 3D fly-through of the stadium that you're playing in. Actually quite an innovative feature for its time. While it's not a perfect replication, you'll still have a good idea of which team the stadium belongs to. You also get this smaller 3D model of the stadium in the selection screen. An interesting thing to note with the stadiums is that there's one listed as being in Banbury, with a capacity of 365. While you can play matches in it, it's also the default training ground. It's got one stand and it's surrounded by hills. The developer Silicon Dreams were based in Adderbury, which is 3 miles away from Banbury, at a place called Somerville Court. Probably hence this stadium's name, Somerville Meadows. Back to the game then, and I did say that the graphics were okay in places because player models aren't that great. Certain players don't look like their real life counterparts, and you can kind of expect that from an early 2000s football game, especially for something that may have been made on a lower budget. The only time you really see player faces is during team walkouts, goal celebrations, half time, or when a player is being shown a card. Also, if you play the Champions League mode and go on to win the tournament, you won't actually see a trophy lift, but there is one in game. To trigger it, you'll need to play through the other cup modes, where if you win, you'll get a basic cutscene of a couple of your players in the centre circle with one player on the shoulders of another holding the trophy aloft. Presentation and commentary wise, we have Gabby Logan introducing the match, and then she passes over to Guy Mowbray and Barry Venison, who are on commentary. In this section, the conversation seems to flow well between the presenter and the commentators. However, during the match, commentary can seem a little bit off and doesn't flow as well as maybe it could. Controls are also very clunky. The best way to get through on goal is to pass and move quickly, but you can only aim the ball in 8 directions, and most of the time it doesn't go to your intended target. You can also abuse the skill move button. This will make you more difficult to tackle. Goalkeepers seem very slow to react to a ball when making a save, and also when it comes to releasing it by throwing or kicking it out. Sprinting is also less of a continuous sprint and is best used in short bursts, as holding the sprint button down will mean that your opponent can catch up to you and get the ball off you much easier. When you're attacking, you seem to put very easy chances wide of the goal, when in other games made around this time, you'll probably score them. There doesn't seem to be a lot of review scores of this particular game online. However, a Eurogamer article from March of 2002 gave it a 7 out of 10, and GameSpot gave it a 3 out of 5. Here's what I think. Of course, we're reviewing this game many years after it's released, and it does show its age. Even for its time, it's not the greatest football game. I would say the only reason why it had any form of success was simply because of the Champions League license, something that Pro Evolution Soccer and FIFA at the time didn't have. The game isn't perfect, it plays very clunky, and you are stuck to the 8 directions. If you're not perfectly in line with a player that's running towards you with the ball, you can't really get it off them. There's also not a lot of replayability once you've beaten the game. Going through the Champions League mode will unlock you past videos from previous Champions League matches, and that's about it. You can't unlock any other teams or stadiums. So that was a brief look at the UEFA Champions League video game for the season 2001 to 2002. Did you play this? If you did, let me know in the comments. Also, if you like looking back at a variety of older video games, stay tuned to the channel because there's plenty more of them coming in the future.